Today is November the 3rd, 2022. My name is Tanya Finchum. I'm with Oklahoma State University with the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program. With me is Calvin Anthony, a longtime supporter of OSU and former member of the Oklahoma A&M Board of Regents, having served in that capacity from 2006 to 2022, recently.
Just recently. Mm-hmm.
And we are in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And in 2010, Mr. Anthony was interviewed by Jerry Gill. So today's interview will touch on a few things that have occurred in the interim between then and now. And then in particular, we'll talk about his friendship and support of Coach Kurt Budke. And this interview will be part of a project that we're calling the We Remember Project. Promise. I should say that again. The We Will Remember Promise Oral History Collection. So thank you for inviting me into your home today.
You're welcome.
By way of context, November the 17th, 2011, a plane crashed carrying 4 people associated with the women's basketball program at OSU, and the university and the cowboy community vowed to always honor and to never forget Coach Budke, Miranda Sherna, Olin, and Paula Brandstetter. Before we get into that chapter of OSU sports history, tell us a little bit about yourself and catch us up.
Well, it's nice of you to ask for the interview and to have a little time. Since about 2010 and 2011, it's kind of, we've always lived in Stillwater, or actually I grew up 25 miles south of here in Kearney, Oklahoma. But I came to OSU first on a baseball scholarship back in the dark ages of 1963. But in the last, say, 10, 12 years, since Jerry interviewed me, Tanya, I've had the pleasure of being on the Board of Regents most all of that time, just until this summer. I finished my second term. It's an 8-year term, and so I've been fairly invested a lot of my energy in working as a regent, and served as chair of our Board of Regents for 3 terms during that span. But lots of exciting things has happened to us from the university standpoint. On a personal basis, my wife and we have 3 children, and Rebecca is the oldest. She's a teacher over in Tulsa, or in Claremore, Oklahoma, and has 3 of our grandchildren. And I have a son who lives here in Stillwater, Luke, who is an attorney, and he has 3 of our grandchildren. And then our 3rd child is another son who just a couple of years ago finished his medical degree from Oklahoma State Medical School, and has finished his residency and is now practicing as a hospitalist at our local Stillwater hospital. And so he has 2 of our grandchildren. So we're very fortunate. My wife Linda and I are able to be around most of our grandchildren on a regular basis, which, as you age, as we have, it's one of the pleasures of having a semi-retirement, I guess you could say. The other thing that within our community that I have invested time and energy in, and my wife too, honestly, is service on our hospital board. Stillwater Medical Center is a wonderful healthcare facility, and I served on it for about 20 years. And during all of the span of time, the last 12 years, particularly focused on improving our hospital and providing more quality healthcare services to not just Stillwater, but our whole northern Oklahoma. We also manage, the hospital manages the Perry Hospital as well as the Blackwell Hospital, and so we have a fairly north central Oklahoma, a lot of responsibility for care of people in this part of the state. But the other things that have happened along the way, we've had more grandchildren, and that's exciting from a personal standpoint. But the university has been a focus for our community a long time, and it is something that we're very proud of what has happened at our town. Years ago, I was mayor and a legislator and all that kind of stuff. But just since Jerry Gill interviewed me, we came back from Washington, D.C. I spent a little while as CEO of our National Pharmacy Association and traveled all over the world, really representing community pharmacy, and actually headed up for some time all the English-speaking countries in the world. A very interesting time and my career, but it was back just before the interview with Jerry Gill, so that probably covered in that. But since then, my enjoyment we built a new home out west of Stillwater, and we've been able to attend all the sporting events, which we're very interested in, as well as many of the academic and other enterprises that the university, having a major university in a college town is a great blessing, we believe, and it changed our lives with me and my family and my wife getting an education. And so it's made it easy to serve in the capacity of a regent, because I truly believe that getting a degree and improving our knowledge is probably the single most important factor in changing the lives of people in many ways. But that's enough said about that. So,
any of these 8 grandchildren OSU grads or coming to be?
The oldest one is my grandson, and he is 21, and he is in the military and is working on his degree while in the military. But two of the girls that are in OSU students now, and we've got another one that will be enrolling. So we're all 3 of our children are OSU graduates, okay. And so it's it runs in the family. I'm pleased to say.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah,
so good.
yeah. They grow up, going to the ball games and all the stuff that we enjoy, and so it's pretty natural sequence. They all have been interested in proceeding to get some kind of a degree.
Well, it's important to build that connection, I think.
Yes, yeah, it is, and our youngest, we have one that's 1 year old, a little granddaughter, and another grandson that's 3. So we've got them spanning, from 21 down to 1 year old.
Well, that makes for some interesting parties and tailgating and get-togethers.
It does, and we tailgate at the football games, and my wife and I have had season tickets for forever. It seems like. I mean, we and enough really to furnish most of the kids' tickets. So we have been blessed to be able to get them all to the ball games if they want to go, and they do, and they enjoy it, and get-togethers. It's pretty big deal to watch the ball games, whether it's at ball field or I'm a big baseball fan, and as well as all the other sports too. But we take it all of them in.
So that facility was built during your term as a Regents, the Albright.
Yeah, the O'Brate Stadium. It was, and in fact, my wife and I made a small contribution to help get it finished. But it is a beautiful stadium, and we have a great baseball program. Josh Holliday and his staff. I mean, we're one of the probably top 10. I would say on a yearly basis. If we don't get to Omaha to the World Series, we're disappointed. But it's.
And I think you were on the board when he was hired too, weren't you?
I absolutely was, and I was on the committee that hired him. We have a subcommittee of the Regents that worked on that.
So they have a say. I don't know how all that works, but I'm thinking the Regents have to give their blessing.
Oh yeah, they actually are officially the one that okays and hires the coaches of that, the stature, and it was a great, I think, a coup to get Josh. Actually, he grew up, in Stillwater, played football with one of my sons, and so we knew him well. He was in our home as a teenager, and when the opportunity came back from him, he was all conference and college player himself, and then he maybe signed a pro contract briefly too, but it was real great to have him come back. He's one of the finest men. I mean, if I were had a son who was a baseball player, there's no better person from a ethics standpoint all the way to baseball knowledge that I would want to be him to be around. And so Josh was a great. I was tickled to be a part of that hiring.
I didn't. I knew that you had something to do. The Regents had something to do with it, but I didn't know. And then you also have, of course, the presidents.
Yeah, the presidents. Our responsibilities include, really, generally. Our role is the Regents is we set policy, and then the administration, takes over and does what it takes to implement those policies. And so it's a very interesting job. And if you do it right, it takes a lot of reading and a lot of work, but it's a labor of love, really, if you care about your school and so forth. So I enjoyed my service as a regent for all the years that we were on the team.
So you would have been on when President Hargis was hired?
When I was appointed, President Hargis was chairman of the Board of Regents.
Okay.
And I came on the board, and it was sort of ironic as I look back at one of the first assignments that kind of, as chairman, he asked me to do, and he sent me a letter, in fact, about it, and it was to work more closely with our medical school in Tulsa to help develop, more fully what we were doing over there. And which I was, being in the healthcare world, and healthcare policy was something I knew quite a bit about, and being a pharmacist certainly helped too. So, and having been a legislator, I had a perspective on some of that stuff in healthcare policy. So that was my first assignment, and that's where I really got acquainted with Dr. Shrum, And
Great.
she later became, she wasn't the dean at that time, but she became the dean and then the president of the school in Tulsa, the medical school, and then did a wonderful job in that capacity. And then later, I was involved when we hired her, of course, to be the president following Burns's tenure. But Burns went from being a regent, then shortly after, a year later after I'd gone on the board or so, we hired him to be the president, and he did a wonderful job too. And I have great respect for President Hargis and for President Schrum, and I feel good about where we've been and feel very good about where we're going.
Yeah, I know under Hargis's time, he did the Brandon Success. So
He did the Branding Success campaign, which was, that when he came to talk to the board about what his kind of some of his goals were and wanted to have a big financial campaign push. And I remember us asking him how, what was he thinking in terms of numbers. And he said finally, he talked a moment and finally said, well, he wants to go for $1 billion. Well, that was more than we had ever considered really. And I do remember the board maybe kind of swallowing hard, but nobody wanted to discourage Burns from his aggressiveness and believing we could do it. And so we all unanimously supported him, and it of course was a tremendous success. We did actually raise about 1.2 billion, I think, over, and that we had kind of thought we could it'd take us like 6 years, I believe, but we were about 2 years ahead, did it in about 2 years early, and so quite an accomplishment really for our university. Who a lot of credit goes to Mr. Pickens, and he at that time was very active and aggressive to help Burns and help the university. But it also transformed our belief in our alumni base, the idea that we can do more, we can do better. We don't have to, as Mr. Pickens would say, you don't have to leave the stadium looking down at your boots, or that was his way of phrasing it, I think. But, you can be proud of who you are and your team and what you're accomplishing in education. And I think that was probably the biggest legacy that all of us learned, that Burns went a long way with his vision to have a major thrust and goal of a kind of an audacious amount at that time, because it made Cowboys think differently about themselves. And that's a real compliment, I think, to what was really the heart of the success.
Yeah, and it spurred on some major building projects.
We ended up, President Hargis, I think of his tenure, it has to be one of the major times that I know Henry Bennett was a significant leader for our university and years ago, but Burns, with the addition of, so many important facilities and improvements, among those, like he brought, a lot of people don't realize, but having water into our internal part of our campus and stuff allowed us to beautify the landscape and do so many nice improvements in relations to the landscape and all that. That was wonderful improvements. And then of course the Bellman building was one of the big enterprises. The Endeavor Lab, the expansion of the architecture and engineering facility, the addition of the McKnight Center, and the music school, the complete renovation of the human sciences building. So many. I mean, they're just one after the other.
And Spears was in there.
Spears School of Business, as well as the well, I'm drawing a blank of the other building there. Well, I can't remember the
Well, they're current.
the student union renovation.
Yes,
That's what I was thinking of.
Yes.
Had in my mind. I'm sorry, but
Nope.
a senior moment.
No, that's okay. That was a big
That
deal.
was a big deal. Well, it was big, but because we had a big student union, but the Atherton Hotel, that was a major. Besides the improvements that were made in the student union and trying to put all of our student services into that area, more kind of a one-stop shop concept. That was a big change, but then the addition of the improvements to the Atherton Hotel was a significant amount of money involved with that too, which was, I think it was around 20 million or more, but so many of those things just improved, and we've kept our architecture, been true pretty as much as we could to the concept of the Georgian architecture, and the business building you mentioned, which was just, I think it's an iconic building and beautiful facility.
Of all of the places, do you have a favorite spot on campus?
Well, of course, we spend a lot of our time in the sporting venues. I'll say that, but I'll have to say Theta Pond is our kids when they were little loved it. We lived on University Street there during a lot of the time, and so our kids would come up and feed the ducks and be around there, and my wife and Linda could bring the kids up, and so we always enjoyed that kind of the corner of campus, and we lived down on University Street there, just west a few blocks from where most of the fraternities and sororities were. So it was our neighborhood.
Well, it's even prettier today. I mean, they've redone some of the bridges and are slated to redo a couple more.
Yeah.
It's looking really nice.
Well, it is I can remember, and I can't remember the years. You could help me with that probably, but I remember when they put the Sirloin Stockade down on Washington Street. There was a bull, big, Well, I can remember when the bull got thrown in Theta Pond. I didn't have anything to do with it, but it was a big deal, back then. But anyway, that's more than you need to know about that.
Now, we've heard stories about that. We just, we've heard it enough where it had to have happened.
Yeah, it did. It did happen. In fact, I can attest to it. Well, there was a whole series of events that tied to streaky got to be a fashionable thing, and on Washington Street for a year or two there, they would have. Usually it's on Thursday nights. The kids would gather there, and so every once in a while there'd be streaker. It was a fad. he just came and went. But fortunately, yeah.
Well, since I work in the library, do you have any special memories of time you spent in it?
Well, I will say this: I was as a student coming from a rural background in a small school. When OSU seemed like an enormous, and Stillwater seemed like a big town. Now we know almost everybody in town, but when you're young and you're starting to college from a student's body of about 40 people, high school students, it's a big jump. But what I'd learned to do, and I had an older brother that was very helpful, and I give him a lot of the credit for his good study habits and so forth. And so I wanted science was what I was interested in, and so having to do, the prerequisites kind of for medical school or dental school or a pharmacy school, either were fairly similar. And I had to spend time in the library, and I had a pretty good routine of doing that. And then we would go over between, around 10 o'clock after try to get to the library around 7 or something, and then get my work, so studies done. And then we'd go over to the student union, whoever, if I had friends with me studying or whatever, and we'd usually go to, they called it the Big 8 room at that time. That was the conference we were in, and there was booths and a little dance floor and place you could have a soda and visit, and the terrace. There was a terrace out that overlooked really the campus there, and so that was you'd have a 30-minute break or something like that, and then we'd either go home or go back to the library, finish. But the library was very important. My wife served on the library board at OSU for over 10 years, and was invested in that work, and she was very proud of what has happened, with our library and the work that's been done. There was a few things that needed to be done. In fact, they built an annex to store a lot of other items and stuff. But she's taken. It's the centerpiece to our campus, I think.
The front porch.
Yeah. I'd say that's a good
I
way
think
to put it.
they're celebrating its 70th year.
Yeah,
just started that celebration.
It is. It's iconic, I think. Honestly, when and the gardens, all that the way it was presented to me as a regent, and all the business building, and then the kind of the walkway, that clear. If you look at from the business building right across the campus, the engineering building, and then the library, and then I think it's the Bellman building, or they're all right in that corridor. It's a beautiful setting, and then the gardens that go between the student union and Willard Hall, all of that is equally, I think, just. I would put our campus, I've had the pleasure of visiting a lot of campuses in my role as head of our National Pharmacy Association, and speaking to pharmacy schools, and none compare to the beauty of our campus, I think. Especially, the seasons come and go, but on just a regular basis, it's a beautiful campus.
Yes, and lately, they've been changing out the flowers for the fall and winter and all that. It's always pretty, and the topiaries that they've added, the boot and the hat and the
That's right. That's
all
very
that's
nice.
Been nice. while we're talking about nice things like that, let's talk a little bit about the energy management program that they started back in in 07, 08.
Yeah, a lot of people, don't realize. I mean, these are kind of some of this stuff is a little unseen by the public, but one of the things that legislatively they always are pressuring. We're trying to contain costs in higher education, and there's a continual battle to try to keep tuition costs down and all that. All of those kinds of things, how we can help economize. But one of the best things that we ever did, I think, was back in about 07, something like that. We decided that we were going to develop an energy savings program, inclusive of a lot of things. Among it, wind energy that we were allowing or purchasing from a lot of the work that in northern Oklahoma. We did a lot of it almost sounds trivial in a way to say that we got people attuned to turning off the lights and being willing to not cool and heat buildings when they were vacant. Just simple, basic things to do. And we had energy consultants that came and helped us do that. And so, surprisingly, in a couple of years, we had $3, $4, $5 million savings. And then as time went by, we found more and better ways. The wind project came a little bit later after we started doing the energy efficiency programs, and but it allowed us to, conserve. Wind energy is a clean energy. They were building these wind farms in northern Oklahoma. Well, not just in northern Oklahoma, western Oklahoma, a lot of places. But it was just a good development, and so we took advantage of it, and it has saved. The last numbers I saw on the kind of the going, not only have we contained the cost of every year your energy going up, we were able to reduce the expenditures on our energy. And so the savings has meant over $60 million over the last several years that I've kept track of it. And so it's one of the things that we were proud to point to when we were dealing with the legislature and the state regents, and say, here's some of the things that we were economizing on, that wind and the energy and the efficiencies that with just being more prudent about how we utilize the energy. And another area, not just exactly like that, but another area of cost conservation that helped us a great deal was in going to a self-insured health care program that we've been able to utilize, really a very beneficial to our employees. I think can help contain the cost of health care, and that's been another feature that it's not on exactly the subject of energy efficiency, but those are two of the main things when you're talking to legislators and they're asking what efficiency. We know you need more money, but what have you done to help contain costs? We've been the leader amongst most of the other schools in our state, universities and colleges, in doing some innovative things in those two areas particularly.
Behavior modification was one of them.
That's right.
I must confess, I had a couple of notes left on mine. It says, please turn off your monitor when you leave the room.
Yeah, it sounds simplistic, but it is so effective. When you put it all together and think, well, we're not running those computers, we're not running those air conditioners, and you put it looking at all the facilities as a whole, it's millions of dollars that you can, turn off the lights. Just turn, it made me more prudent, I can tell you, in my personal life about thinking about it, because I now when I go out of a room, I used to never worry about turning off the lights or whatever, but I do now. Yeah.
When all that was being discussed, would various people come to the Board of Regents and make presentations on,
Right.
This is why we should do this, and
Yeah.
you guys ask them questions and things?
Yeah, we do. We have. I mean, there's, it's an interesting, and as I said earlier, I think in our comments, as a regent, it takes a lot of reading and looking, because as you study some of these issues, I mean, you can't do everything for everybody. You have to pick what you think is the best possible thing you can do for the resources you have and so forth. So it does. We always would ask questions on the issues, but we had committees. That's one thing. A lot of times, I think maybe in the public meetings, people don't always capture how much you've looked at issues. I mean, we'll ask questions, as you said, and talk to the whoever's making a presentation, but there's usually a lot of committee work that has been done before that to get to, here's the 5 alternatives, or here's the what we think we need or don't need, and that it's hard to capture all that in the.
Well, then let me ask it, on an average week, how many hours would you spend on regents work? Just typical.
More than what they would tell you when you ask you, would you want to serve? But it's all, it's stuff you care about. Right. So as I said, it's a labor of love, because you want to do the right thing and you want to help the students and so forth.
Is it like a 40-hour a week?
It's about a half-time job. Okay. I would say. Okay. I mean, if it would be 20 to 30 hours, and sometimes more than that, sometimes a little less. But when you get a packet of information, before your board meetings, and say a week before, and then you study it, and a lot of it is just ongoing. I served on the audit committee, and for several years, that particular committee takes quite a bit of time, because you have a lot of the Board of Regents for the OSU, and is also we're the board for the A&M colleges, which entails Langston, Panhandle State, Northeastern A&M, and Miami, and Connor State in Warner, Oklahoma. So we oversee 2 2-year schools and 2 other 4-year schools. So you have to deal with all of those entities too.
So you were already retired from Tiger Drug.
Honestly, I really was. I was still the owner, but I didn't have time to work behind the counter. I was more. I'd be in the store, but I'd be, dealing with other stuff probably for the most part, most of the time. But I'm very fortunate in my personal business in Tiger Drug and Central Drug. I owned those 2 stores, and then my wife and I had a store in Perry, and one in Perkins, and one in Yale at one time. And then we had a home health care business that she managed too. So we had a plenty poured out to do,
Yeah.
but I was very fortunate. I had a wonderful staff of people that I had trained and carried on while I had a chance to serve in the legislature and on the Board of Regents, and just
You had to be a very good time manager. Is what I'm thinking.
Well,
too.
it does. It teaches you that you do learn, and Stillwater has been a wonderful community. I've served as as chairman of the United Way or the Chamber of Commerce, and been involved in so many components of our town that and as mayor and so forth. It's a wonderful place to live and to serve. People are education is important in our community, and I'm proud of that.
Well, of all of those different roles, then when the 2015 parade accident happened, you could.
Oh yes, it was a heartbreaker. I was in the parade, and I had that little orange truck. I was one of the chair of the regents. I think I was driving right, giving him the ride. I can't remember exactly who it was, but anyway, we were ahead. It happened, later in the parade, but by the time we got to the end, word was coming down. There'd been an accident. I didn't know how serious it was until we got really over by the football stadium. But it was a sad day for our community. But that and the plane crash. That the Brandstatters and Coach Budke and Coach Cerner and that got them. They're very similar feelings. It's just like when you're a close community, whether it's the university or it's the parade. It's like a shot to the heart of the whole Cowboy Nation and the whole Stillwater community. We stand together, and I hope we never forget, and we've said we wouldn't, and I don't believe we have, those bad circumstances that have left us scarred a little bit.
Well, since we've got to that point, what do you remember what you were doing or where you were when you heard about the 2011 plane crash?
I do remember. Basically, we were out of town and coming back. I can't remember where we were coming back from. It may have been could have been one from our cabin in Colorado or someplace, but we'd been out of town. But then I just got word it had just happened, and immediately, it's one of those things. This seems unreal. We were close friends of the Budkes, and Shelley Budke we kept a horse. She was a horse lady, enjoyed horses, and so we kept her horse for her for several years. And anyway, Coach Budke, we're a big fan, OSU women's basketball fans too, and so it was devastating. And we went over to their home. They lived out on Huntington Hills, south of town. As soon as we heard about it, we got situated back home from where we'd been, and then we went over there and did what we could to try to console Shelley and the kids, and it wasn't a pretty sight. We were right there. I mean, and this was in the very beginning of the day, and there was a few other people there, and at that time we stayed for a while, and there's no words, you know, to say. Well, I think what but I hope it was helpful to have been there and at least cry with them and talk with them and talk about some of the things that we enjoyed and they enjoyed and so forth. But anyway, we left that day and came home, and you just feel sick. You don't feel like doing anything, and trying to get more information then to learn what exactly happened and all that. And then you just go through almost a daze is what I would say, Tanya, about for a few days, 2 or 3 days, and finally I think sinks in the magnitude of it. They had a service, there at this university. I will always say Jim Littell distinguished himself, I thought, very significant way with his words, kind of speaking about Coach Budke and all of the, Miranda and the Cerner and the Brandstatters, and just it was a nice event, and it was one thing I did note. I've been a big OSU booster, not so much an OU booster at all, but Sherry Cole brought her girls basketball team to that. I always remember that, and I thought that's a class act. I thought that she thought enough of Coach Budke to bring, I don't know if it's all the members of her team, but most of her team down to and participated in that event. But anyway. We loved beating the Sinners, and that's a whole nother story as it pertains to the orange coat. But
Yeah.
but anyway, that.
And they had the orange blazer draped over a chair on stage, if I remember correctly.
Yes, they did. They did. Yeah, it was. It kind of became iconic. It's funny. I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
But
so, how did he come to have it? Let's start
there.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Coach Budke and I, we were close. We were good friends, and just I'd go to practice once in a while and watch them and so forth. And so we had a good friendship, and I knew his parents. Got acquainted with them well, and so anyway, I was chairman of the Alumni Association back at that time, and we were having a leadership meeting, which is all for the Alumni Associations over in the Alumni Center. And it's kind of all the leaders around the state, kind of there's chapters and stuff. And so anyway, I had that orange jacket that the chairman of the Alumni Association would give to them, for their term of office. And I don't know if he did it for all of them, but I know Jerry gave me that one, and and it's cool. I mean, it's, and I had it on for that board. It was a board meeting of the Alumni Association, and I had it on. And Coach Budke is a guest speaker that we invited, and so he comes into the room, and he sees that orange jacket, and he's joking, and he says in front of everybody, he says, "Well, man, if I had an orange jacket like that, I'd wear it for that when we play OU in basketball, you know." And so I made a middle note, it's most everybody just passed it off, didn't think, but first thing after our meeting was over with, I told Jerry, I said, Jerry Gill, I said, it would be nice. We ought to, you think we could do something for him on that, getting that coat? He said, I think we could. And so my best recollection is, and we did. Jerry ordered the coat. There was the guy that had made those. Tom James is the company and one of our big alumni supporters was a salesman for Tom James Clothiers, and his name I think was Bob Shear, and anyway, he was a friend of Jerry's, and so Jerry ordered the coat, and he got the size and stuff and all that stuff, and ordered it, and did. And I can't remember if I paid half and he paid half, or if the Alumni Association. I kind of think that we split it, but it was, it was what it was, and anyway, we ordered it, and in the meantime, the game was getting closer, and we were at the mercy of the guy making the coat, and we were trying to get it there for the OU game, and it didn't come. Finally, the day before the game, the coat arrived, and it needed pressing and all this and so forth. So there's one of our boosters named Baloo Subterranean, I think is the way he pronounced his name. It's but we all call him Baloo. And anyway, he has cleaners in Ponca City and Stillwater, and so he took responsibility to get it. He got it cleaned the night before the game, or the morning of the game, and got it to Coach Budke, all in good style. And I didn't think we were going to make it, but anyway, he did. And it took a combination of people. The reason I mentioned them names, they were all contributors to getting it done. And as luck would have it, and I think I'm correct on this, but there, I think it's Sherry Cole in the media had mentioned that, it was talking about the OSU girls game, and she said, well, we probably, the OU was, had big attendance and so forth. She said, we'll probably have more people at the game than the OSU folks. Well, that
didn't sit well.
It didn't sit well, and I think Larry Reese may have announced it at the men. There was a men's game, not that same day, but I think it's the day before, and said, we need to fill the stadium. Fill the field house and get the crowd and all that, and so everybody went. But that was kind of an insult, we thought, and so next thing we know, the game comes and we sell out. It's full, and Coach Budke's wearing that orange blazer, and he looked so good. I gotta say, he's had a little kind of blonde hair, And anyway, it was a magical thing that our girls just had one of amazing game, and it was just we beat the way out of the Sooners and won the ball game, and it you know from then on it was sort of a legend. I mean, you would have thought the jacket. I mean, it made it super. It's like putting on your Superman outfit, and they would from then on. I mean, he would do it. He every year he would wear it at the OU game, and it's I don't know. It's sort of it's a emblematic. I think that somebody may have that actual jacket. I don't know that if I heard it was in somebody's suite, but I don't know if that's true or not.
I was going to ask you if you knew where it ended up.
I think they may have framed it ultimately, and I kind of think that it may be. I couldn't. You'd have to verify it, but I think they sold it in maybe one of those auctions. When we have the posse auction, and I heard that it was somebody had it hanging in one of the suites at the basketball stadium. But I haven't gone in there and looked. But that's to the best of my knowledge. That's probably where it is.
I want to think that after the crash, that the first men's game that Coach Ford may have barred it to wear.
Yeah, I think he did, and he I never knew if that was. I mean, there was a little different size, if he had one made or if it was the actual jacket. Yeah. But he did wear it, and our Coach Boynton, I will say, he has one.
He has
and
one.
And I don't know if where it came from. I don't know the history of it, but there are a few people I know that I mean I've seen them, and I have one. Wes Watkins has one that he wears, and I just wear this one on very special occasions. It's meaningful to me because of the history of what happened with Kurt and everything. So I wear it very infrequently, but when it's really something special, I've worn it. But
were you present when he actually got it?
When Kurt, no, I can honestly say when the guy from the cleaners, Baloo, delivered it over to the office, to the basketball office, Coach Budke's office, and so I wasn't there, but I was. I mean, Jerry called me and said the jacket's here. We've got the jacket, and he got it over to Baloo, who I think was the one that he pressed it and fixed it. It had been shipped to us, so it needed pressing, and that was all really. I think it came that night. I think the morning of I think he got his hands. Kurt saw it. I think the morning of the game. Okay. It was that close.
Well, how had Jerry managed to get his measurements without him knowing, you think?
I think Shelley got Shelley Budke.
So she was on it a little bit.
I think so. The gentleman Bob Shear, that he had did mine and Jerry's also and probably other. I'm just assuming that I've not seen other people wearing them, but that other. I mean, when it was my term as chair of the association, that's when he gave it to me. So I kind of just presumed. I guess you could have to ask Jerry, but I mean, I had the impression that was a policy. He may have treated me special. I don't know.
He may have.
Yeah, but I appreciate the buttons. If you look at, but the buttons on it have alumni association.
Okay.
They're all personalized and stuff. It's a nice coat, and it had a lot of special meaning for because of Coach Budke and all the things surrounding that. Our team played such a great game that night.
Yeah, I read where Andrea Riley scored like
40-something
points.
41 points or something. Andrea, I mean, she was a great player. She was just a dynamo. But I mean, that she couldn't miss that night, and it was loud. I mean, the arena was full of people. It was a special moment in the history of Gallagher-Iba.
It was rowdy. Okay.
It was very.
So you were in your seats when he came out in it?
Oh yeah, we were there, and we had front row seats always for the girls basketball, and we just he looked. I mean, he looked. I have to say, he was a handsome guy anyway, but he looked good, and it was a. I mean, forget the win. It was pretty impressive when he had it on, and it's so noticeable. I mean, Kurt was never he understated guy, I guess is what I'd say. Him coming out in that big bright orange jacket was it was a statement in and of itself. And then the fact that we won, that kind of memorialized really what I think, the jacket, the whole story. And then some of the media picked up on it, too.
Would he have on his typical game face, or was he just beaming?
Oh, he looked pretty happy to me. Of course, the game. I mean, he was always all business. He was very courteous, but and all that stuff. But I mean, he was there, and he knew he was there to do a job. And but the way everything transpired, it just made a legend start. It started that, he also didn't wear it for any other games.
Just OU.
Just the OU game. That was typically what he did.
And that was probably for the 2008 game. If I was trying to figure.
I'm trying to remember. It's 8 or 9, right in that. I didn't look back to see when Andrea was when she played, and it was about her. It's probably her second or third year.
Okay, so around in there.
Something in that area, yeah. But
his first year was the season 2005-2006, and we didn't do well.
No, we didn't.
And then he just kept getting better and better.
That's exactly right, and that was I went on the Board of Regents that very same time, 2005.
So he had already been hired when you came on, or were you part of the hiring?
I was not part of the hiring.
So just right before you were.
Yeah, Julie Goodenough was the coach before him, and then and we supported the girls basketball. Always did with her too, but then when Kurt came, we were all in on, just because a lot of reasons, and the kids, we knew the kids, and they'd come out and ride. They'd come out and ride horses, and ride a gator. The Alex and the other boy,
Brett.
Brett. I was thinking of, he was the younger one. they liked riding my gators, and they was just learning to drive, a little bit. So, in fact, for Christmas on one of their Christmas cards, maybe did it more than 1 year, but I know 1 year they came out. We had an island. We lived out west of town, and it was a nice little waterfall kind of in the middle of our driveway, circular driveway, and they wanted a picture with the orange truck in front of that island, and that's how they took their family photo and used it for their Christmas card, and so it was it was a nice picture of them, and.
Do you recall when you first met him?
I can't say that I do, honestly. Just I'm sure it was probably right when he was hired, and at probably before one of the games. I'm sure when I usually in a time like that, as soon as as a regent, you get a chance to meet them, when they interviewed or sometime or other. But I honestly don't remember, to be perfectly truthful. He was always, we played golf quite a bit together. He and Jim, he and I would take my brother and Jim Littell. Jim was the assistant coach, and so we had a game of golf. We had regularly played. When I say regularly, probably once, maybe twice a year. But it was always when things slowed down. Well, we would and Coach Budke and I would take Bobby, my brother, and Jim. That was the fairest way. Kurt was a pretty good golfer, and so. It was just it was kind of a fun, we'd play for $1 and bragging rights, and whoever won. But that was just, amongst the things that we had endeared our friendship, and we had, when Coach Budke was, they had a family. I think it was maybe one of them's his birthday, maybe, and Shelley invited us and his family, his mom and dad, and they all came down, and we can't remember where it was. It may have been at Holiday Inn or someplace here, but we had a party kind of celebrate his birthday and stuff like that. So it was a great friendship. I miss him a lot. But Jim, we're close friends with him, of course, too, and have been, and I'm very happy with our new coach. I'm very optimistic and looking forward to a good showing by her. I hope she's successful, but
well, for those who didn't have the opportunity to meet Coach Budke, how would you introduce him or describe him?
That's Jim. Kurt he was a very personable man. He was not. He was very down to earth, what I would say. He was not, he was just who he was. He was proud to be, a coach, and describing him, he's a very handsome man. He's good. He's a big guy. He was a pretty big guy as far as I was concerned in terms of just, I imagine he was 6'1", 6'2", something like that. But he in excellent physical condition. But I think back, he that coat, if I recall right, most of the time he wore like a black pullover, under it, and it looked great. I don't remember him wearing a tie that much, but he was his personality was just a pleasing guy you'd like to be around.
With a good sense of humor.
Good sense of humor. Never. He was, self-deprecating. Not ever. Had no ego. I never saw him as a person who was, fretted about his image or anything, but he was a genuine. Best thing I think I could say is he was a genuinely nice man, and it came. The recruits saw it in him. He knew basketball. He's very good very good to help students. He's a very good teacher, but he was also promoted the sport. He knew, he grew our fan base because he made the girls, he'd have them all come and shake hands with you, after the game. He didn't have to make them. He'd just tell them, and that was one of the, I told him that's one of the best marketing things he could ever do, because once those girls come and, you go by, I know we sat there on the front row and there were people in the stands that all come down and shake hands with them. You just feel like you needed to be there to support the team. And it was a buy-in deal. And I've to this day, have told our new coach, I said, that's a good thing to have for them to do, because it creates a relationship, you feel like, between the fan and the student athlete.
Well, would he say much, or from sitting on the front row, could you tell what might have been going on during like warm-ups and during the
game?
Yeah.
Kurt was a mild-mannered guy, so when he did, when he did get angry, it really had an impact. He could bite the head off of a nail if he got. You'd think when he got really mad, but you just never saw him. I can count, if I on one hand when I ever thought he was upset to he generally was even-tempered and not one to be out there slam banging around very much. He coached the girls, and he gave them the instructions how he wanted to play and what he wanted to do. But he would get on an official occasionally, like any good coach will, but it was not, he was not known as a head case or, a violent person at all. He was well behaved.
Did he get too many technicals?
No, he didn't get very many technicals. That's what I'm really trying to say. He was not, he picked his spots, and he knew when, to do it. And if he could complain with the best of them, but it was few, and you knew if he did, it was bad. He'd gotten a raw deal, and so it was effective. But he was not a one to carry on and have tirades like some of our coaches. The other thing I would say about Kurt was he never used filthy language. He just didn't do it. I mean, on a private, personal basis, playing golf. I mean, you see guys for what they're really like if they're getting mad on the golf course, but that wasn't him. It wasn't. He was just a genuinely nice man, and what you see is kind of what you got from him. And he was a great basketball coach.
I read where he was a good motivator.
Yeah, he could motivate people, and he made you want. He made kids. He knew how to get the students and the student athletes all have different personalities, but he knew how. He knew when he could really, like Andrea, for example, he would get on Andrea hard sometimes, and she was a good player, but she knew he cared about her, and she knew that he was trying to help her. And some others he couldn't push as hard. He'd have to be a different mentality with them, and all he could do was encourage them, and try to, and I've seen that in my time as being around the athletes, and is different things make them all tick differently.
Yep.
And having the wisdom to know how to deal with them is a big part of being a coach.
I can imagine when he came out in that orange blazer for the first time and went to the center court and to shake hands with.
Yeah, Sherry Cole. I'm sure Sherry, I don't know that, but I should have asked him, I suppose. I don't know what she said, but I'm sure she had something to say.
She probably gulped.
Yeah, because she had prided herself on kind of being I mean this in a complimentary way, a cocky, nicely dressed. She was a nice looking lady and so forth, and wore high heels and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm sure she noticed, and I don't know what she told him. But.
Well, at the end of the game when OSU won, do you recall what he did at that point?
He went over and shook hands. I mean, they all traditionally, will shake hands, and the teams will line up and do that. And he did that. But I do remember, and after that, I mean, we usually sing the alma mater, and the girls sing it with everybody. And but I do remember him, coming and turning around after he shook hands with all the players, turning around and waving at everybody, on the sidelines. And I personally, when we kind of walk out together, most of the kids and the coaches and stuff. He had a little show they usually interview, but I caught him before, just as we were getting ready to walk out of the first floor and I told him it's a big win. It's a great win, and that was about the gist of my comment. But he was, it was a landmark time for us.
Yeah, I was thinking he probably. Sometimes they'll make an announcement. They'll take the mic and say something. Thank the fans for showing up. Yeah,
and I honestly don't remember him doing that.
It's too exciting to remember.
I think I probably was. I mean, everybody, but he did. I do recall occasions when he did something like that, but I don't honestly. I think we were all so excited and tickled, when we were just celebrating. And
OU was ranked higher that year.
Yeah, they were high. Yeah, they were, and they had those Paris girls, and they were perennially, Final Four team, and so it was not expected that we had. Obviously,
it makes it even sweeter.
It did, and the fact that we'd fill the stadium. I mean, that's for a girls' game. That's that hasn't had. I don't think that's happened since.
No, I read it. I don't think it has
I
either.
don't think so. They were all there, and people, you know, for various reasons, uh, we captured the idea that we want Sherry Cole to send a message that we're going to be behind our team.
See, and I think it wasn't that year, but maybe the next season is when they made the Sweet 16.
Yeah,
I
they
think
did.
was
The
the
following
season.
year. I think that's right.
So he turned the program around
He
in a short amount of time.
He turned it around in every way. I mean, they were the team was it was good camaraderie. Uh, Girls enjoyed playing for him, and when we went, I think we went to New Orleans, as I recall, or in that Sweet 16 game. They had a big girl named Folks that was good. We went down there to New Orleans with them in that if that's the year I'm thinking of, but my old brain
No, that's
kind of
okay.
can't always remember.
Well, did you know Sherna at Miranda?
I knew Miranda. Yeah, I did. I knew Miranda pretty well. She was very nice, and she was Hispanic girl, and really, and her mother came to some of the games, and during her tenure, and Miranda was just a good. She was a good assistant coach, and I would say probably Coach Littell was probably his top assistant, and Miranda was kind of right with him, or maybe I don't know, I wouldn't say under him, but was the other main assistant, and I think she did a lot of the recruiting coordination, but she was first class lady, and I got better acquainted with her family after her death, really, but it was, you know, the having that little lapel pin that had the 4, you know, on it was everybody. For years we wore those, and I still have mine in there. But it kind of signified just a crazy accident.
Mm-hmm.
The more we learned about it, it was very unfortunate, But the Brandstetter family, I mean, I, I knew them as fans, basically, but he had told me that he was recruiting a girl over in Arkansas, and was going to try to go over there. I mean, we're just in our day-to-day interaction. He's always talking about who he's recruiting and so forth, but in our wildest thought, I didn't think about plane wreck.
Not another one.
No, I sure didn't. I didn't, and I know there was. I mean, we looked at all as a regent. We looked at all of our policies when it came to the aircraft and all the kind of stuff, and both of those accidents. It was an issue that, and some people I think thought, well, we shouldn't let them get in a plane, small plane or this or that, and I mean, it was not. It has never been on anybody's screen, I don't think, about what you do. Then I think we did have a big full review and set some parameters of what we would allow coaches and teams to, and recruits or to how the parameters would work on getting planes and so forth. and made some good, what were positive changes to our travel policy, both for teams as well as for
Employees, all of us,
employees.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Well, they had done that similar thing after the 2001 crash.
exactly,
Had
yeah,
reviewed it and made some major
made
changes.
some changes, and then in that situation, there's, I mean, the Bradstatters, he was a pilot, and
She was too.
and she was too, and I think they were fans. I mean, I would never presume to second guess, why or how, was was there a mistake or was there this or that? I honestly I don't know. I just don't know, and I've never spent time dwelling on that because
You're not going to know.
it doesn't right. It doesn't really matter anymore. But there was the get together that we have kind of to celebrate both the Remember the 10 and the Brandstatters and Kurt and his family and the memorial. It was important to Shelley. I know that the memorial we get fixed.
That was in 2017 when it was dedicated.
Right.
So several years later.
Yeah, it took several years, and it took quite more time. I can tell you, I was pressing them on getting it done, and it was. I mean, there wasn't any hesitancy amongst Burns, or I mean, it was all, but it did take some time to get the artwork, the decision of where it was going to be, the issues pertaining to that. There was, I don't know the details. I stayed out of it, but I know there were, some hard feelings to some degree from some circles about, hey, we should have done this or we should have done that. But I never allowed any of that. It was a tragedy, and I felt like it was, it was what it was, and I didn't feel like picking it apart. I know there may have been discussions of litigation. I don't remember that there were any, but I think at the end of the day, it's all settled, and Shelley, and we've stayed in touch with her and her kids for pretty regularly, but she's moved now. She stayed here for several years, but I know she moved, and their daughter and the two boys, I see them, cross paths with them periodically, but they're a nice family.
They are. I was curious as to how they decided to put it where they put it and move the spirit rider.
Yeah, they moved the spirit rider.
Put it there.
I
went into that. I don't
know. I don't honestly know either. Although the locate, I think it's a great location myself, and I can say that I use that parking lot a lot, and I see people looking at it all the time, and makes me feel good because and I don't know what generated moving the spirit rider somewhere else or what that was about, but I mean, I think they decided that was the best place, and it needed to be in a
and it's accessible.
They wanted it accessible. They put lighting, kind of nice lighting on it, so you could at night it would show up too. I think it's well done, but I was I was a little surprised that they moved the spirit rider there, but So there
Well, it's
must have
in a
been
good place too now. I mean, it's
Where did they put it?
it's amongst, it's
The-
beside the practice facility
oh, is it? Okay,
and
yeah.
that other, what, I'm not sure that other building.
Sherm Smith.
It's if you walk through there, it's right there, right there.
Okay,
I
yeah.
mean, it's in the middle of other
Other
athletic
stuff. Yeah,
too.
right. Okay, well, that's it. I never had paid attention.
Were you at the dedication of that memorial?
I was. Yeah, it was, and it was a nice. It was very well done. I mean, I think all of it transpired. It took a little longer than I would have liked, and everybody else too. But it was. I don't think it was anybody trying to sabotage it. It was just those things take some time, and the artistic work and stuff like that all takes a while.
Well, and as Board of Regents, they would be choosing all that, wouldn't they?
Yes,
Be choosing
yeah.
the architect and construction company.
Yeah, we don't get into saying, "Hey, it's going to be here or here,"
Yeah.
but we approve the people that are designing and whatever.
Because money's involved.
Yeah, that's right, and we have our input. If I mean, they did ask me on that. You know, do you think this is Gary Clark? I think who's I talked to. He said, this is what we're thinking of doing," and blah blah blah. And I said, "It all sounds good to me." So that wasn't any official, but as a friend, you know, I think they wanted input.
So during your time, I mean, you were in Stillwater for the 2001 crash.
Yes.
And then for the 11, and then for the parade, all three of those major events.
It was I mean, those three tragedies that it's you hope that those are unfortunate circumstances are over with, but yeah, and you know, it just we had the 2001. I was just coming back from Washington D.C. From my I had been up there for 6 years as CEO of our national association. We kept our home and everything here, our businesses and stuff, and I bought a home up there too. But yeah, that was all three of those tragedies just break your heart, you know.
Yeah, and the freshmen that are on campus now weren't.
I know.
You know.
Yeah,
So we're trying to hope to educate them on some of these things.
I hope so too. It you know, you don't. It's tragedies. I've thought about it, you know, years ago when I was adult, but Wichita State lost a team in a plane crash, and they discontinued football. You know, I don't know if that was the exact reason, but they didn't do it. They still don't play football, I don't think. But anyway, and I remember, just barely remember that event. But I think OSU, I would give credit. I think they have done a good job. I think in the Gallagher Iba, the memorial to commemorate them, remember the 10, and that, I mean, it's such a good location. I can't help but when I go through there, you know, stop and look at it, and you know, just think about it and think, you know, say a little prayer or whatever to, you know, for those people. And we had the occasion to go out. Not many people do probably, but where the plane crashed, we visited that site, and back years ago, right after, not too long after the plane crash, but it was probably the next year. But we, like I said, we have a second home up there, and we had one of our daughter was living up in the Denver area, Longmont, Colorado, and we went through there and visited that site. It's out in the middle of there's not much there, and but what we used to, and I honestly can't say if I know this now for every year, but Dr. Bosserman, who used to be here, he would see to it that there was a wreath put on that memorial every year, and I honestly can't say if I know if that has continued after him or not, but I should know that.
I should know that too, but because I researched some, but I don't. But I don't know.
But I don't know that.
I know he did it for a long time.
Yeah, he did,
and they do the annual, the annual reception of.
Yeah, they have a run, that has raised a lot of money. Still does. Remember the 10 run, and I think they may have included the get together. I always go to that, and it's they have the families come
from both, right?
From both. And it's a nice. They talk, a little bit, and then I know at the awards banquet in the academic athletics, the academic side, the Flemings, they have a scholarship, and they present and Nate, their son, was killed, and they give a scholarship, one or two, I don't remember, maybe a men's and women's sport, I think's what they do, but it's a scholarship they provide at that banquet. It's we've gone to that several years. But
you're a big OSU fan all the way through.
Well, we are fan. I mean,
all sports.
We do. I mean, we have season tickets for baseball, basketball, football, wrestling. We go to soccer, but our son has tickets, and so we use some of his sometimes. But and we go to and have good friendships with all the coaches. Most of the coaches were customers, but our track coach, we've got to be good friends with Dave Smith, and it's a gentleman, very fine guy. And softball, Coach Gajewski, and we go to those games too. But anyway, we are all in on, and we financially supported not just the sports, but we gave a nice donation for baseball, and we gave the library. I think we gave $100,000 to the library, I believe, something like that, and several other the Night Center and stuff. We've tried to help out on scholarships and helped. I was involved in getting the new president's home for the. We had a contribution for that and so forth. But
that's supposed to be open pretty soon, isn't it?
Or
finished.
Yeah, we went. I actually went. I don't think they publicized it, but Casey, Dr. Shrum, they're good friends, her and Darren of ours. But anyway, it was her 50th birthday last week, and so I had been in. They gave a few of us that had donated, and I was. subcommittee of the Board of Regents. I was on it too, and so I got a nice tour of it. It's really
It looks pretty from the road.
I'm very proud of it for them. It fits nice, and they didn't have to remove hardly maybe one tree that was of significance, and we did a nice job of getting the footprint is not exactly where the other house was, but it's close, and I think it's very Burns and Ann were very helpful. I mean, he raised the money for the most part, but the Regents had kind of taken it on as a project to try to help get. No president really wants, and Burns was this way. I mean, he didn't want it to appear. They don't want to appear like it's their
for them.
So the idea we had was the Regents said, well, let's, we know when he's getting ready to retire, so let's maybe work it where we do it kind of as a swan song, on his term, and it worked out nice. I mean, I think Casey and Darren and their family, they'll enjoy it, and it's kind of got a private sector, and then they're a more public area where they can entertain. So it'll be nice.
Plus, we now have the Hargis statue.
Yeah, we got the Hargis statue, and Burns and Ann. In fact, last night before last, Linda and I went down to attend his induction into the Oklahoma Education Hall of Fame, and it was he was one of the inductees, and so we're good friends with him and Ann. But the statue, he says it doesn't look like him, and I said, Burns, no, do you think that looks like Henry Bennett? I said, it's not. It is it's the way people see you, and we joked about it, but it was a very nice honor. I said a few words, and it was in the library building that we had the little reception before the dedication, and they asked me to talk a little bit, and I did. But anyway, a lot of good stories, and a lot of good memories. Burns was a fine president for us, and I'm hopeful Casey will be too, and she's off to a good start, I think.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere where she said you were OSU's favorite son. Does that sound right?
I have heard her say that. I think she knows we're fans and so forth of all the sports and stuff, but
you exemplify the cowboy culture, I think is what they say.
Yeah. Well, I have my friends on the board that I have a habit of using expressions sometimes that maybe it's country. I'm just a country fella, and anyway, they call me the Will Rogers of, and I say, well, I'm no Will Rogers, but I'm an OSU fan and friend. But that's it's always in a nice frame that they don't say, I wish the heck you'd get out of here,
So what's coming down the pipe for like the next 5 to 10 years?
For me?
Yeah, for you.
Well, time is slipping up on me. I'm 70. I'll be 78 in January, but we still, Linda and I. She's a few years younger than me, but we both our most enjoyable things are our supporting OSU and our community both, and our grandchildren are. And we're in a position to enjoy them, and something I learned now. You may you may not. I don't know if you have grandchildren or you have two. Well, you can understand. I'll bet that we worked hard all of our lives, and we've been very fortunate. We're modest people. We haven't. I mean, what money we have is, we feel fortunate to be blessed with what we have, but we are our enjoyment lies in our grandchildren and our children, and seeing them grow to maturity and succeed and be successful and happy, and that's what most of my time now is figuring out, when the grandkids are coming. And we are fortunate because we have probably, let's see, 5 or 6 of them here in town. And so we see them regularly. And the other 2, not that far away. Claremore is fairly close. But the oldest one, we went, he's in the military, as I mentioned, and he is stationed in Hawaii. And so this summer, late summer, he was wanting us to come see him. So we did. We went to Hawaii and visited him for a few days. And it tickled him. He had not been to any of the other islands. He's stationed in the Schofield Barracks there in Honolulu. And so we went over to the Big Island of Hawaii, where the volcanoes and stuff are. That was fascinating to him. So I said, well, we'll just go there and have you come over and visit there. So we did. But he's the oldest of our grandchildren. But we find ways to enjoy them. We all went on a family cruise, a couple of Disney cruises.
Oh, that's fun.
And that was really, yeah. Linda has, she worked hard. She's been a wonderful helpmate. She and I, we're celebrating 54 years, I believe.
Get it right.
Yeah. I'm thinking in August, it was, next year will be 55. So next August. But anyway, we had a couple of Disney cruises and took all 14 of our clan to on those cruises, and they loved them and enjoyed them so much. I think she's trying to figure out it gets more complicated as everybody gets older,
But they're sweet memories.
Great memories. Mm-hmm. We loved. I mean, we'd do it again in a New York minute. If we just trying to figure out really when we can, and logistics and stuff. And so,
what do they call you?
They mostly call me Papa. The kids do. That's kind of the little 1-year-old. Papa's easy for her to say, and she picks it up real good. But that's kind of what that's more used than Grandpa. Papa's probably what they call me.
Are you teaching them all how to play golf?
Well, my 2 boys they're both busy as they can be, but they have started playing. And when they were growing up, I tried to get them interested. I took them we've been members here at the country club since 1970. So that's a long time. And so even the years a couple of years when I was out of state and stuff, well, we still were stayed as members. But my boys, we sent them to the junior camp. Where they would teach, during the week, a week of that. But it never took. Now they're all wishing. They say, "Dad, I wish. Why did you make us do that?" I said, "Well, I did. Tried." And now they enjoy it, and I play with them when when I can, or my wife plays occasionally, and she and I play some, but I enjoy. Actually, I didn't think we would. I never thought when she wanted to buy this house and remodel it, and we had a big house out west of town, and we had about 150 acres there. Where we it's on the highway, but borders Karsten, and so. It was a beautiful 7,000 square foot home, and she decided it was time for us to. I had some longhorn cattle and so forth, and she was wanting me to get rid of those because it's getting dangerous a little bit, and also I think not wanting me to have to get out in the cold and break ice and stuff. So we moved into town. We kept our son, youngest son, who's the doctor here at the hospital. They looked around for a place and couldn't really find much. They've got 2 little kids, and so I said, well, we could. And then I said, well, we had this house here, and she is remodeling it, and we'd move it in here. And I'll admit I was a little resistant to that, but I've learned to enjoy it, and it's we like it in terms of being able to. It's much smaller, but she has a lot less to have to deal with and take care of and so forth. So it's worked out very nice.
How many holes in one have you had?
Well, I've only had one, and it was actually I had it with Jim Littell. And I was playing with Jim. I don't, I don't play very much. I used to play in tournaments a lot, and I was pretty good. And we played some competitive, games and so forth. But now I play, but the boys, they'll, like I was saying, they've got the bug bad, and they'll try to get me out there, and I play maybe once every 2 weeks, but it's enjoyable when I take the time to do it.
So you've probably played Karsten a couple of times.
I have, yeah. Like I said, our house was my land. All still borders. I still have the land out there, but the house we sold it to our son, but. We border right up to Karsten and then to the highway, but I played there quite a bit too. But Karsten honestly it's not as much fun to me. It's just a little too hard. I'm getting old enough. I used to hit it the decent amount distance, but I'm not. My brother and I are both complaining about it to each other. I don't hit it near as far. But here, it's so convenient. I have a golf cart in my garage there, and so it's, mainly for my grandkids. They like to ride around in the golf cart. My grandsons, he gets a kick out of driving it. So I use that as much as, for just letting them go swimming pool or stuff. But
yeah, I figured you might have met Ricky Fowler and Victor.
I have. I've had the pleasure. In fact, in my office there. I've got a lot of memorabilia of Ricky. I got a flag that he autographed at Karsten, and just different things. I'm very proud. I follow the golf team, and Alan Bratton and their coaches, Mike Holder when he was coaching and so forth. But we put a lot of pro players, a lot of good young men that in the golf has been one of our premier sports. Now on a national scale, it's one of the preeminent schools. We've had 10 national championships, and that's not near as many as wrestling, but it's more than
historically.
But it's more than. The pro tour is dotted with OSU alums,
and now Dr. Shrum wants to be the preeminent land grant university.
I've noticed her using that language, and I've been reading. I know, and I had a little bit to do with kind of the planning on their new strategic plan, and I think it's a good goal. I mean, it's our university is. I came from a very small school, small town, and I've never wanted us to be considered elitist. I know there's certain parameters we have to try to have and so forth, but I've always kind of had in my heart that if someone wants a college education, they should have a right to try. I mean, maybe they can't make it at OSU, or maybe they can, or maybe it's a 2-year school. But I really don't. I'm all for academic rigor. Don't get me wrong, but when I finished school, I know that I was a valedictorian. I always joke and tell people I graduated in the top 6 in my class. It was out of a class of 12. But the truth is I was a valedictorian. But it was such a huge jump from that little town, that little school, to come into a school with 25,000 or more students, that I was scared, and I worked hard. I was able to make the transition, but I really had to work hard, and my grades were, I'd say, average or above. But then the longer I went, I got into my areas of interest. I made good grades, but it's a big jump, and testing and stuff has a value, but it's not the only value. It only measures what you have been exposed to. It doesn't measure the heart of how hard are you willing to work, and I don't know about your background, but if you're from a little town and so forth, you don't quite probably have the choices. I didn't have. My area of study was in chemistry and biochemistry and stuff. I had no science stuff. I had general science as a freshman in high school, and that was we had no chemistry. We had no physical sciences of any kind, and it was just wasn't a rigorous school. But I like the concept of giving students a chance, and if they don't make it, they don't make it, but
have the opportunity.
Yeah, the opportunity, and to try, and to me, that's the land grant, a part of the land grant mission, at least.
And have some of the support structure in place.
Try to have the academic counseling and the advisement and stuff that it takes to try, and I think that's what Casey I mean, it's only a part of it, but paying dividends to society on what we know, what discoveries we make as a university, I mean, the dividend that I think we owe the public is helping our people be smarter and contributing to society in a positive way. And I think that's where she's headed. I think that's what she wants to do. And I agree with, all that. And it can come from different ways. I mean, as we spent a lot of time, or at least I kind of got personally involved on how we deal with groundwater, reclaiming all these, the water that we use on these wells, and fracking and all that stuff. How are we, the tremendous amount of wastewater that stuff generates? When we were having all these earthquakes, in Oklahoma, if we can figure out a way not to have to pump all this water back into the earth, or find a usable way to use it when you pump it out, it would help our society. It was important, and anyway, those are the kind of things I think hopefully we can contribute to the state and the country, as you solve some of those issues.
Yeah, renewable energy and sustainability and all those things.
Yeah, that I don't know if I got in what you were
Yes, you
wanted,
did.
but that's that fits right in with it. And I think that's if I'm a citizen or a professor, being able to do, that's kind of the big picture way of helping.
Well, I think OSU is lucky to have had you come from down the road a piece.
Well, you're kind to say that. I appreciate that, Tanya. I'm Linda and I, they wrote a nice article about she and our lives in one of that state magazine here a month or so ago. And I thought we have had a charmed life. There's no question. We got very fortunate. Our children we've been blessed to have good kids and now grandkids. But she grew up in a farm and I grew up in a little old country store like we were talking about. And it was interesting you mentioned that movie. But that's I know exactly what they're talking about. You're the folks, the Picketts and the Kinders, but
it's a wonderful life.
It has been, and my father, he was, I mean, he worked and my mother worked in that old country store. All of us kids did. That was what we did, but he when he passed away, he set a really good example for me and my brother and our family, my sisters, about community service. I mean, he was on the school board for like 30 years, Kearney, and tried to help. I mean, he was on the town council and this and that, and I remember, him having to go to those meetings, and I'm thinking, hey, he's busy doing this and that, but it was he sort of taught us kids to, you need to participate, and we've tried to do that, but at his funeral there was a long line of people that came, and just one after the other said, well, if it wasn't for Mr. Anthony and Ms. Anthony, we wouldn't have had any shoes to wear, or we wouldn't have had a chance to get an education, or we wouldn't have had this or that. And because they took care of that little town, just by giving whatever they could or needed, and people couldn't always pay their bills and so forth. And so he knew how to take care of people, and
So the lesson is to be humble and give back.
that's right. That's what that's what I think. If we've done nothing but try to do like he taught us to do, we've done our best on that.
Yeah, well, I think he would give you an A+.
Well, I think about that a lot. Honestly, as I'm getting older, he died young. He was 51 when he passed away and had a coronary heart disease. But he lived a good life. But he lived just long enough to. Linda and I had bought Tiger Drug, which was our first business that we had, and he was. I didn't have any money. I was just out of college, and Linda was in college, and so the guy I'd worked there as a soda jerk as a student, and then when I got a chance to buy the store, he said, my dad said he co-signed a note that was there, and for me to try to get the money for a down payment. And he lived just long enough to see that I was going to, about 6 months later, get the bills paid. and so it all downhill after that.
He laid a good foundation for you.
Yeah, I'll have to say that I've been blessed with his image and example. And Linda, both of us kind of grew up the same way.
Well, we've covered all of my things.
All the
if
stuff?
there's anything else you want to say, we can say it. Now's the time.
No, there's not. I've taken more of your time.
You say go Pokes?
Yeah. We're looking forward to next week. This weekend's ball game.
That'll be better than the last.
We gotta get off that one game losing streak, and boy, that was an ugly one last week. So we'll hope for good things.
We can only go up, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, thank you very much for spending it.
Well, my pleasure. I hope you can make some sense out of those ramblings.
Oh, you were great. And, absolutely great.
The stuff, everybody, all the goings on, and as you get older, you think about some of the stuff a little more. Mm-hmm. When you're younger, you're hard charging, So it's nice to have a little time to talk with people like you on it.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, well, thank you.